Sometimes in life, the most powerful thing you can do is step back, retreat, and let your absence speak for you. We live in a world where constant availability is mistaken for value. But let me tell you something. When you're always there, when you're always giving, when you're always accessible, people stop noticing the effort you put in. They stop appreciating what you bring to the table. When you pull back, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, you create space for people to feel your absence. And in that space, something incredible happens. They begin to see who you are, what you mean, and what you've contributed all along. Think of it this way. When you're too close to a masterpiece, you can't see its beauty. You don't notice the brushstrokes, the detail, or the depth of the colors. But when you step back, everything becomes clear. You are that masterpiece. You have been painting your life with hard work, love, and dedication. But sometimes people need a little distance to truly see it. Let them miss you, not because you want to punish them, but because you deserve to be valued. Pulling back doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to create boundaries. You're showing the world that your time, your energy, and your presence are precious. This isn't just about others recognizing your worth, it's about you recognizing it first. When you focus inward, when you take the time to grow, to reflect, to strengthen yourself, you create a ripple effect. The energy you exude will change, and people will start responding differently to you. But understand this, some people may not notice. Some may not miss you. That's okay. The ones who matter will, and those are the relationships worth nurturing. When you create that space, when you allow others to feel what life is like without you, you set the stage for transformation, not just for them, but for yourself. And trust me, once people feel that space, they'll either step up or step out. And either way, you win. When you take a step back and allow your absence to be felt, it creates an opportunity for others to truly appreciate the value you bring to their lives. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy for people to overlook what's right in front of them. This isn't necessarily because they don't care or don't value you. Sometimes familiarity simply breeds complacency. When someone is constantly present, their efforts, kindness, and energy can begin to feel like an expected part of life rather than a gift. The truth is, we all need moments to reflect on what truly matters, and that reflection often only comes when something or someone is missing. We sit with someone who, unlike us, doesn't change. We miss the light. We miss 30 seconds of sunlight. When you're always available, people tend to take your presence for granted. It's human nature to notice what's missing more than what's consistently there. Think about it. When a light bulb in your home burns out, you suddenly realize how much you relied on it, even if you never consciously appreciated it before. The same principle applies to relationships. Your constant presence, your energy, your contributions, they can blend into the background until they're no longer there. When you step away, you create space for others to recognize and reflect on what they've been given all along. Stepping back doesn't mean you're abandoning anyone or turning your back on important connections. Instead, it's an intentional act of self-respect. It's about understanding that your energy and time are valuable resources, not limitless supplies. By stepping away, you're giving others a chance to evaluate how they see you and how much they value what you bring into their lives. This isn't about proving your worth to others. It's about reminding them of what they've been fortunate to experience. Absence also provides people with a moment to miss the small, often unnoticed things you do. They start to remember how your words of encouragement lifted their spirits, how your presence brought comfort, or how your effort made things easier for them. These little moments, which may have gone unnoticed in the hustle of everyday life, become clearer in your absence. It's in these moments of realization that appreciation begins to grow. Think of relationships like a garden. If you water it too much, the plants won't thrive. They might even drown. Relationships, like those plants, need space and balance to grow. When you give people room to breathe, you allow them to appreciate the nourishment you provide. They start to see that your care and attention weren't just acts of routine, but gestures of love, thoughtfulness, and commitment. This isn't just about others recognizing your worth, it's also about you realizing your own. By stepping back, you can see who truly values your presence and who doesn't. You might be surprised to find that some people don't notice your absence, and that's okay. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's a necessary part of understanding where to invest your energy. The ones who do notice, who take the time to reach out, to express their appreciation, are the relationships that matter most. In the process, you'll also begin to understand that your worth doesn't come from how much you do for others or how often you're there for them. Your worth is intrinsic. It's not tied to anyone else's acknowledgement. When you step away, you're not just teaching others to value you, you're reminding yourself that you're valuable, with or without their validation. Absence also has the power to shift dynamics. Sometimes, when you're always present, you unintentionally enable others to rely on you too heavily. They may come to expect your help or your energy without contributing anything in return. When you step back, you create a vacuum that forces others to step up. They start to realize the effort it takes to maintain the relationship, and they may even grow because of it. Absence teaches responsibility. It challenges others to show their investment in you and the connection you share. It's also worth noting that stepping back doesn't mean you're creating drama or being manipulative. It's a quiet, dignified act of letting go. You're not demanding recognition, you're giving others the opportunity to give it freely. Genuine appreciation can't be forced. It must come from within. When you step away, you allow people to come to their own realizations in their own time. And when that recognition comes, it's far more meaningful because it's rooted in genuine understanding and gratitude. By allowing your absence to be felt, you shift the focus from what's expected to what's cherished. People begin to see you not as a constant presence, but as someone whose contributions and energy are deeply missed when they're gone. In that space, relationships either deepen or fall away, and both outcomes are valuable in their own way. Stepping back is an act of trust. Trust in yourself, in the strength of your connections, and in the power of time and reflection to bring clarity. Establishing boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to communicate your value to the world. It's not about shutting people out or keeping them at a distance. It's about showing yourself and others that your time, energy, and presence are not unlimited resources to be taken lightly. When you set clear boundaries, you make it known that you respect yourself enough to define what you will and won't tolerate. And in doing so, you invite others to treat you with that same level of respect. Far too often, people confuse availability with worth. They believe that being constantly accessible to others, whether it's answering every call, agreeing to every request, or always putting others' needs above their own, is a sign of generosity, strength, or love. But in reality, this endless availability can send the opposite message. It can imply that your time isn't valuable, that you don't have priorities of your own, or that you don't value yourself enough to say no. Boundaries, on the other hand, tell a different story. They tell the world that your time is precious, that your energy is finite, and that your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. When you set boundaries, you create space for people to see you as more than just a resource. You remind them that your life doesn't revolve around their needs, and that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. You have your own goals, dreams, and responsibilities, and by prioritizing those, you inspire others to do the same in their own lives. Boundaries are not walls, they're guidelines that show others how to interact with you in a way that is healthy and sustainable for both parties. Think about it. If you're always saying yes to every request, every favor, every demand on your time, you're not just exhausting yourself, you're also enabling others to take without truly appreciating. When you finally say no, you give them the opportunity to pause and reflect. They start to consider what they're asking of you and why. In that moment, they're forced to think about the value of your time and the effort you've been putting in all along. It's a wake-up call, one that can only happen when you have the courage to enforce your boundaries. Setting boundaries also shifts the balance of relationships. It challenges the people in your life to step up and respect your needs, rather than always expecting you to cater to theirs. Some people may not respond well to this at first. They might resist or even push back, especially if they've grown accustomed to your constant availability. But over time, Those who truly care about you will adapt. They'll recognize that your boundaries are not about shutting them out, but about creating a healthier dynamic. They'll begin to see the strength it takes to prioritize yourself, and they'll respect you all the more for it. This act of boundary setting is also a form of self-love. It's a way of acknowledging your own worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. When you respect yourself enough to set limits, you send a powerful message to the world. I matter. My time matters. My well-being matters. And when you live by that principle, others begin to see it too. They start to understand that your presence is something to be earned, not taken for granted. It's important to remember that boundaries aren't just about saying no to others. They're also about saying yes to yourself. When you protect your time and energy, you create room for the things that truly matter to you. You allow yourself the freedom to focus on your passions, your growth, and your happiness. You're not just preserving your resources, you're investing them in the areas of your life that deserve them most. And when you do that, you become a better version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone around you. Boundaries also teach people how to value your contributions. When you're selective about how you spend your time and who you spend it with, your actions carry more weight. People start to notice the effort you put into the relationships and commitments you choose to prioritize. They realize that when you show up, it's because you genuinely care, not because you feel obligated or pressured. This authenticity deepens connections and makes your presence all the more meaningful. At the same time, boundaries filter out relationships that aren't built on mutual respect. Not everyone will understand or appreciate your limits, and that's okay. Those who don't respect your boundaries are showing you that they were never truly invested in your well-being. While it can be difficult to let go of such relationships, it's a necessary step in creating a life that is fulfilling and balanced. In the end, boundaries are not about separating yourself from others. They're about protecting the essence of who you are. They allow you to show up in your relationships and commitments as your best self, fully present, fully engaged, and fully respected. They remind the world that your time and energy are not to be taken lightly, and in doing so, they elevate the quality of every interaction and connection in your life. Sometimes in life, we're so close to something that we can't fully appreciate its significance. It's like standing inches away from a painting. Up close, you might see some brush strokes, a corner of a vibrant color, or a small detail, but you miss the entire masterpiece. The depth, the composition, the story. The same concept applies to the way people perceive you and the role you play in their lives. When you're constantly present, people may fail to see the full picture of who you are and what you bring to the table. Stepping back allows them to gain perspective, to see the bigger picture, and to understand your true value. When you're always there, your presence can become a given. People stop noticing the effort you put into your relationships, your contributions, and the unique qualities that make you who you are. It's not because they don't care or don't value you. It's often because they haven't had the chance to step back and reflect. They're too caught up in the day-to-day, too close to see clearly. By creating some distance, you give them the opportunity to realize just how much you matter. This distance doesn't have to be physical. It's about creating a moment of pause. It might mean being less available, not always being the first to reach out, or taking time for yourself. When you're not constantly present, people have a chance to notice what's missing. They begin to think about the way your energy lights up a room, the way your support has been a steady foundation in their lives, or the way your actions have made their days a little easier. In your absence, they start to recognize the things they may have taken for granted. Creating space isn't just about others gaining perspective, it's about you gaining it too. When you step back, you can see how others respond to your absence. You start to notice who truly values your presence and who might have been leaning on you a little too heavily without reciprocating. This insight is invaluable because it helps you evaluate where to invest your energy. Relationships should be balanced, with both parties contributing and appreciating each other. When you step back, the dynamics become clearer, and you can make more intentional choices about where to focus your time and attention. Perspective also brings clarity to the way you see yourself. Constantly being in the middle of everything can be exhausting, and it can blur your understanding of your own worth. When you take a step back, you have time to reflect on who you are outside of the roles you play for others. You can reconnect with your passions, your goals, and the things that bring you joy. This self-awareness not only benefits you, but also enhances the relationships you choose to maintain. When you're grounded in your own value, you bring a stronger, more confident version of yourself to the table. Stepping back doesn't mean withdrawing completely or abandoning the people in your life. It's not about playing hard to get or creating unnecessary distance. It's about creating balance. When you're too close, too involved, or too available, the dynamics can become one-sided. People might start to lean on you more than they should, or they might overlook the effort you're putting in. By stepping back, you encourage them to step forward, to meet you halfway, and to show their appreciation through actions rather than assumptions. It's also worth noting that stepping back isn't just beneficial in personal relationships. It applies to all areas of life. In your career, for example, constantly overextending yourself can lead to burnout and a lack of recognition for your hard work. But when you step back, when you set boundaries and give others the chance to see the gap you leave, they begin to realize the weight of your contributions. The same is true in friendships, family dynamics, and even creative endeavors. Distance can be a powerful reminder of what you bring to the table. At the same time, stepping back doesn't mean you're abandoning your values or becoming less of who you are. It's about creating the space needed for growth, both for you and for the people around you. Just as a seed needs room to grow into a tree, relationships and connections need moments of space to deepen and strengthen. By stepping back, you're not taking away, you're allowing something greater to develop. When people have time to miss you, to reflect on what your presence means, they gain a deeper understanding of your value. They begin to see you not just as someone who is always there, but as someone who chooses to be there, someone who brings light, strength, and meaning into their lives. And in turn, you begin to see who truly values you, who steps up in your absence, and who makes an effort to maintain the connection. That clarity is invaluable, and it all begins with a single step back. Pulling back from the constant noise of daily life and taking time for self-reflection is one of the most transformative things you can do. In a world that constantly demands your attention, whether from work, relationships, or social obligations, it's easy to lose sight of who you are and what truly matters to you. Self-reflection is a way to step out of the whirlwind, take a deep breath, and recalibrate your life. It's not about isolating yourself or turning your back on others. It's about reconnecting with yourself and nurturing the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. When you take time to reflect, you gain a deeper understanding of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Life moves fast, and without pause, we often operate on autopilot. We react instead of respond. We conform instead of creating, and we focus on meeting the needs of others while neglecting our own. Reflection is your chance to slow down and ask yourself the important questions. What do I want? What am I feeling? Where am I going? These questions aren't always easy to answer, but they are necessary for growth and clarity. Self-reflection is like looking into a mirror. It's not always comfortable because it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you might usually avoid. Maybe you're overextending yourself for people who don't reciprocate, or you're stuck in routines that no longer serve you. Maybe you're chasing goals that aren't even your own. These realizations can be difficult, but they're also freeing. When you're honest with yourself, you give yourself permission to make changes. And that's where the magic begins. Growth starts with awareness. You can't improve what you don't acknowledge. Self-reflection shines a light on areas of your life that need attention, whether it's your health, relationships, career, or personal development. It's not about being critical of yourself. It's about understanding yourself better so you can make more intentional choices. Maybe you'll realize that you've been saying yes too often and need to start setting boundaries. Or perhaps you'll see that you've been holding back on a dream because of fear or self-doubt. Whatever it is, reflection gives you the clarity to take the next step. Taking time for yourself also strengthens your sense of identity. When you're constantly surrounded by others, their opinions, needs, and expectations can influence your decisions. While feedback from others is valuable, it can sometimes drown out your own voice. Self-reflection helps you tune back into your inner compass. You start to recognize what truly resonates with you, what brings you joy, what gives you energy, and what aligns with your values. When you have a strong sense of self, you approach life with more confidence and purpose. Self-reflection also has a ripple effect on your relationships. When you take the time to understand yourself, you show up as a better version of you. You're more patient, more empathetic, and more intentional in your interactions. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. Instead of seeking validation from others, you cultivate it within yourself. People notice this shift. They see your groundedness, and it inspires them to do the same. Reflection doesn't just change you, it changes the energy you bring to every relationship and situation. One of the most beautiful aspects of self-reflection is that it helps you rediscover your passions and goals. In the busyness of life, it's easy to lose sight of what excites you. You get caught up in obligations and forget to make space for the things that set your soul on fire. Reflection gives you the chance to reconnect with those dreams. Maybe it's a hobby you used to love but stopped pursuing. Maybe it's a career path you've always wanted to explore. When you take the time to reflect, you create room for these passions to resurface and for new ones to emerge. Another benefit of self-reflection is that it builds resilience. Life is full of challenges, and it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're constantly moving from one thing to the next without pause. Reflection gives you the opportunity to process what you've been through, learn from it, and move forward stronger. You start to see that even in the toughest moments, there are lessons to be learned. Reflection turns obstacles into opportunities for growth. Finally, self-reflection is an act of self-love. It's a way of saying, I'm worth the time and effort it takes to understand myself. In a world that often glorifies productivity and busyness, taking time to reflect might feel like a luxury, but it's a necessity. It's the foundation for a fulfilling life. When you prioritize self-reflection, you're not just investing in yourself, you're investing in everything you touch, your work, your relationships, and your dreams. By taking the time to look inward, you create a space for clarity, growth, and renewal. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being honest with yourself, learning from your experiences, and moving forward with purpose. Through self-reflection, you reconnect with the essence of who you are, and that connection has the power to transform your life. Investing in yourself is one of the most meaningful and transformative choices you can make. It is a declaration to the world and to yourself that you value your growth, your well-being, and your potential. In a world that often demands you to give to others, pouring into yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. When you invest in yourself, you are essentially saying that you deserve the time, energy, and resources it takes to become the best version of who you are. This isn't just about personal success. It's about creating a life of fulfillment, purpose, and impact. The first step to investing in yourself is recognizing your worth. Too often, people hesitate to prioritize themselves because they don't see themselves as deserving of the effort. They pour all their energy into others, family, friends, work, without leaving anything for themselves. But here's the truth. You can't give your best to others if you're running on empty. By investing in yourself, you're ensuring that you have the strength, knowledge, and peace of mind to show up for the people and things you care about. You're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for everyone you touch. Investing in yourself often begins with taking care of your physical and mental health. Your body and mind are the foundation of everything you do, and neglecting them limits your ability to thrive. Regular exercise, proper nutrition, and adequate sleep aren't just tasks to check off a list, they're acts of self-respect. They show that you value your well-being enough to make it a priority. The same goes for your mental health. Whether it's therapy, meditation, journaling, or simply taking breaks to breathe and reset, caring for your mental state is essential. When you feel good physically and mentally, you're better equipped to tackle challenges, pursue opportunities, and enjoy life. Another critical way to invest in yourself is through learning. Knowledge is one of the most powerful tools you can have, and it's something no one can take away from you. This doesn't necessarily mean formal education, though that can be valuable too. It's about being curious and open to growth. Read books, listen to podcasts, take courses, or learn new skills. The more you know, the more options you create for yourself. Learning isn't just about career advancement, it's about expanding your understanding of the world and your place in it. It's about becoming more capable, confident, and well-rounded. To unpack wisdom, investing in yourself also means pursuing the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Life is about more than work and responsibilities. It's about finding the moments that make your soul come alive. Maybe that's a creative hobby like painting or writing. Maybe it's traveling to new places or spending time in nature. Whatever it is, make time for it. These are the activities that remind you of who you are and why life is worth living. They're not distractions. They're essential to your happiness and growth. One of the most overlooked ways to invest in yourself is to surround yourself with the right people. Your environment plays a huge role in your development, and the company you keep can either elevate you or hold you back. Seek out relationships that challenge you, inspire you, and support you. Be around people who celebrate your wins and encourage your growth. At the same time, don't be afraid to distance yourself from negativity or toxicity. Protecting your energy is an investment in your well-being. Investing in yourself also requires self-discipline and self-accountability. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen without effort. You have to show up for yourself every day, even when it's hard. This might mean sticking to a routine, setting goals, or holding yourself to a higher standard. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Each small step you take adds up over time, and before you know it, you've transformed in ways you never thought possible. At the same time, investing in yourself means being kind to yourself. Growth isn't a straight line, and setbacks are inevitable. When things don't go as planned, don't beat yourself up. Treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend. Recognize that every experience, even the tough ones, is an opportunity to learn and grow. Self-investment is as much about patience and grace as it is about ambition and drive. Finally, remember that investing in yourself is an ongoing process. There's no finish line. Life is constantly changing, and so are you. What worked for you a year ago might not work now, and that's okay. Stay curious, stay open, and keep adapting. The more you invest in yourself, the more you'll discover what you're truly capable of. You'll realize that your potential is limitless, and that's when life becomes truly exciting. Creating boundaries is one of the most important acts of self-care and self-respect you can practice. It's about defining the lines that protect your time, energy, and well-being while fostering healthier relationships and a more balanced life. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or being unkind. They're about setting clear expectations and ensuring that your needs and priorities are honored. Without boundaries, it's easy to become overwhelmed, undervalued, or even resentful because your time and energy are stretched too thin. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's a necessary act of self-preservation and self-empowerment. One of the first steps to creating boundaries is understanding your own limits. You can't set clear boundaries if you're not sure where they should be. Take a moment to reflect on what drains your energy, what makes you feel overcommitted, or what causes you to feel taken advantage of. Pay attention to the situations where you feel uncomfortable or stretched too thin. These are often signs that your boundaries have been crossed, or perhaps they were never firmly established in the first place. Knowing your limits helps you identify what needs to change to protect your peace. Once you've identified where you need boundaries, the next step is communicating them. This can feel daunting, especially if you're not used to standing up for yourself, but clear communication is essential. People cannot respect boundaries they don't know exist. When setting boundaries, be honest and direct, but also respectful. Use I statements to express how you feel and what you need. For example, instead of saying, "You're always demanding my time," you could say, "I need to set aside time for myself, so I won't be able to commit to this right now." By framing your boundaries around your needs rather than accusations, you reduce the risk of conflict and make it easier for others to understand your perspective. Another critical aspect of setting boundaries is consistency. It's not enough to state your boundaries once. You have to uphold them. This means following through on what you say and not wavering when others push back. If you make exceptions too often, people may begin to think your boundaries aren't serious or negotiable. Consistency sends a clear message. You value yourself and your time, and you expect others to do the same. Upholding boundaries can be challenging at first, especially if you're dealing with people who are used to you always saying yes. However, over time, they'll learn to respect your limits if you remain firm. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They're also about saying yes to yourself. When you create space by setting boundaries, you give yourself the time and energy to focus on what truly matters. This might mean pursuing your passions, spending quality time with loved ones, or simply resting and recharging. Boundaries create a sense of balance in your life, ensuring that your own needs are met before you give to others. This isn't about being selfish. It's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to care for others. One of the most powerful benefits of setting boundaries is that it strengthens your relationships. At first, it might feel like creating distance, but in reality, healthy boundaries bring people closer together. When you set clear expectations, you eliminate misunderstandings and resentment. You're not left feeling overburdened, and others aren't left guessing what you need or where you stand. Boundaries also create mutual respect. By valuing your own time and energy, you show others how to value theirs. Healthy relationships thrive on this kind of mutual understanding and respect. It's important to remember that setting boundaries can be uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to it. You might worry about disappointing others or being perceived as difficult. But the truth is, boundaries are a form of self-respect, and people who genuinely care about you will understand and honor them. Those who react negatively are often the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries in the first place. While their reaction may be challenging, it's also a reminder of why boundaries are necessary. You're not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You're responsible for protecting your peace. Boundaries are not static. They evolve as you grow and as your circumstances change. What you needed a year ago might not be what you need now. Regularly reassess your boundaries to ensure they still align with your priorities and values. Don't be afraid to adjust them as needed. Growth often requires new boundaries, and that's a natural part of life. Being flexible with yourself while maintaining the core principle of protecting your well-being is key to creating boundaries that work for you. Being well-balanced is key to creating boundaries that work for you. Ultimately, setting boundaries is an act of empowerment. It's a way of taking control of your life and prioritizing what truly matters. Boundaries help you live with intention, focusing your energy on the people and activities that align with your values and goals. They create the space for you to thrive, not just survive. By setting boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself, you're creating a life that reflects your worth, your priorities, and your deepest desires. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that constantly bombards us with noise, be it from conversations, social media, or the demands of daily life, silence can feel unnatural or even uncomfortable. Yet silence is a powerful tool that allows us to reclaim our thoughts, refocus our energies, and truly observe the world around us. When you learn to embrace silence, you begin to see its transformative power. It's not just the absence of sound, it's a space for growth, clarity, and understanding. Silence holds the key to connection with yourself, with others, and with the greater purpose of your life. Silence allows you to hear your own thoughts. When you're constantly surrounded by chatter, opinions, and noise, it can be difficult to distinguish what you truly believe or feel. Your mind is like a pond, and the noise of the world is like stones thrown into it, creating ripples that distort the surface. Silence is the stillness that allows those ripples to settle so you can see clearly again. In those quiet moments, you can reflect on your choices, your goals, and your feelings. You can ask yourself the tough questions. Am I living authentically? Am I pursuing what truly matters to me? Silence gives you the space to answer honestly. In silence, you find clarity. When you take a step back from the noise, you're better able to process your thoughts and emotions. It's like cleaning out a cluttered room. You can finally see what's valuable and what's just taking up space. Silence creates an opportunity to prioritize what matters. It's in these moments that you can identify the areas of your life that need change or attention. Perhaps you've been too reactive, letting the opinions of others dictate your choices. Silence allows you to tune out those external influences and reconnect with your intuition. It helps you make decisions that are aligned with your true self. Beyond self-awareness, silence also cultivates mindfulness. It brings you into the present moment, away from the distractions of past regrets or future worries. When you embrace silence, you start to notice the little things. The sound of the wind, the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of your own breathing. These moments of mindfulness ground you, reminding you that life is happening right now. Silence becomes a bridge to gratitude, helping you appreciate the beauty and simplicity of the present. Silence is also a powerful tool for communication. While it might seem counterintuitive, the absence of words can often say more than words ever could. Silence allows you to truly listen. Instead of rushing to respond or filling the gaps in conversation, you give the other person the space to express themselves fully. In doing so, you show respect and create an environment where deeper, more meaningful connections can form. Silence teaches you that listening is as much about what isn't said as it is about the words spoken. When you practice silence in your interactions, you also become more intentional with your words. Instead of speaking out of habit or impulsivity, you learn to choose your words carefully, ensuring they carry weight and meaning. Silence gives you the time to think before you speak, allowing you to communicate with clarity and purpose. It's in those pauses, those moments of reflection, that you can offer something truly valuable to the conversation. Silence isn't just about the moments you spend alone or in conversation. It's about your energy and presence in the world. When you choose to embrace silence, you create a sense of mystery and depth. People are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable in their own quietness. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, your silence can be a powerful statement. It communicates confidence, self-assuredness, and the ability to be at peace with yourself. Silence becomes your strength, a way of showing that you don't need to shout to make an impact. In the stillness of silence, creativity often flourishes. Without the constant noise of external influences, your mind is free to explore new ideas and perspectives. Many of the world's greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators have credited their breakthroughs to moments of solitude and silence. When you give yourself the gift of silence, you create a space where inspiration can flow freely. You begin to see connections and possibilities that were obscured by the chaos of everyday life. Silence also teaches patience. In a culture that glorifies instant gratification, silence reminds you that some things take time. It encourages you to sit with uncertainty, to wait for the answers that cannot be rushed. In doing so, it builds resilience and teaches you to trust the process of life. Silence is a reminder that not everything needs to be solved immediately. Some of the most profound solutions come when you simply allow yourself to be still. Ultimately, silence is an act of self-care. It's a way of giving yourself the time and space you need to recharge and reflect. In silence, you find strength, clarity, and peace. It's a practice that requires intention and courage, especially in a world that constantly pulls your attention outward. But when you embrace silence, you discover that it holds everything you need to grow, to heal, and to thrive. And silence is not emptiness, it's fullness. It's the space where transformation begins. In life, not everyone will be on your team. Not everyone will clap for your successes, understand your dreams, or support your journey. That's the reality of human relationships, and it's something that each of us must come to terms with. You have to understand that you don't need everyone's approval, validation, or applause to keep moving forward. In fact, seeking widespread approval can dilute your vision and distract you from your purpose. The sooner you accept that some people won't cheer for you, and that's okay, the freer and more focused you'll become. There will always be individuals who doubt you, misunderstand you, or even actively try to undermine your efforts. This resistance can come from strangers, acquaintances, or at times, even those you hold closest. Their skepticism might stem from their own insecurities, fears, or limited perspectives. Often, when people can't imagine something for themselves, they project that disbelief onto others. They might tell you your dream is impossible, your goals are unrealistic, or your ideas are foolish. But their inability to see your vision doesn't mean it isn't real. Their lack of support is not an indication of your potential, it's a reflection of their limitations. When people don't cheer for you, it can feel isolating, especially if you're venturing into uncharted territory. But remember, your journey is yours, alone. It's not meant to be fully understood or validated by everyone. Your path is unique, and so are the challenges and triumphs that come with it. Instead of focusing on who isn't clapping, shift your attention to your own inner drive. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, the person who believes in your vision when no one else does. Cultivate self-belief so strong that external approval becomes a bonus, not a necessity. This mindset requires resilience and self-awareness. It means developing a thick skin and learning not to take criticism or indifference personally. It's easy to internalize negativity, to let the doubts of others seep into your own thinking. But you must resist that urge. Their doubts are not your truth. The opinions of others should never dictate your worth or your capability. Instead, use their skepticism as fuel. Let their doubt ignite a fire within you, pushing you to work harder and prove, if not to them, then to yourself. just how capable you are. Another key to navigating a lack of support is gratitude for the people who do cheer for you, no matter how few they may be. Focus on the ones who understand your vision and stand by your side even when the journey gets tough. These people are your allies, your inner circle, and their support is far more valuable than widespread approval. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Cherish those who see your potential and remind you of your worth when doubt creeps in. Surrounding yourself with positivity, even from a small group, can make all the difference. At the same time, it's important to develop independence in your pursuit of success. True growth comes when you learn to keep going, even when the applause isn't there. Understand that external validation is fleeting, but your inner drive is enduring. Learn to celebrate your own milestones, no matter how small they may seem. Take pride in the progress you make, the lessons you learn, and the person you're becoming. Recognize that your worth is not defined by how many people cheer for you, but by the value you bring to the world and the integrity with which you live your life. Sometimes the silence from others is a blessing in disguise. It gives you the space to focus without the pressure of meeting expectations or performing for an audience. When the spotlight isn't on you, you can experiment, take risks, and grow without fear of judgment. The quiet moments, free from applause, are often where the most significant growth occurs. In these times, you learn to rely on your intuition, to trust the process, and to stay true to your purpose. The lack of cheers can become a gift, allowing you to strengthen your resolve and refine your vision. As you move forward, remember that success has a way of shifting perspectives. The same people who doubted you, dismissed you, or ignored you might eventually come around. When your hard work starts to pay off and your vision becomes reality, the critics and naysayers may begin to take notice. But by then, you'll have grown so much that their approval won't matter as much as it once did. You'll have built something greater than applause. You'll have built self-respect, resilience, and a life aligned with your values. In the end, it's not about who's cheering for you. It's about staying committed to your purpose, even in the face of indifference or doubt. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You just need to keep walking it. Stay focused on your goals, trust in your vision, and let your progress speak louder than any applause ever could. When you embrace this mindset, you'll find that the people who truly matter, the ones who genuinely support and uplift you, will gravitate toward you naturally. And for everyone else, let them watch as you rise. So, as we bring this all together, remember that your life is your story to write. You are the author, and every choice, every pause, every boundary you set is another chapter that defines who you are and what you stand for. Let them miss you, not because you've disappeared, but because you've chosen to protect your energy, value your time, and focus on what truly matters. In doing so, you'll shift the dynamics of your relationships, amplify your impact, and create a life that feels authentic to you. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Stand tall, move with intention, and let your actions and your silence speak louder than words ever could. The ones who truly see your worth will meet you where you are,